I hear the people in the house speaking English. I hear them. Mm-hmm. They come to the door. I said, hey, did my package come here? No, I hablo inglés. I said, I just heard you speaking English. And then he just kept speaking in Spanish. And I said, okay, since you playing games. So I got the translator that said package. I was like, nah, no. Well, he didn't say like in English. He said it in Spanish. So I said, okay. So then I walked off and I let them know what happened. The man was like, well, it's nothing really we can do about that. I'm like, y'all can't give a credit or nothing. It was like, no. I said, so at that point, I kind of got a little irritated and I kind of got a little mad in the message. And I sent him a message and I said something about, yeah, you know what, I'm going to just have to take this legally because at this point, this is ridiculous. The nigga named Zach responded and said, go off.
Man.
At work? Mental health or wellness person, and you know, your LinkedIn content ain't looking too good, and you worried about if I'm gonna get the clients I'm looking for, or you know, you need some white papers done or some articles done that you haven't had done. And some PR articles, and you know, you may just need something to tighten up on, or somebody to do that for you, and you know it's lacking because you don't have it. A newsletter to push out to your clients, and you just don't have it, and you know you're not gonna get the results you wanted because you don't have it done. Of course, that's gonna happen, but it can be changed if you reach out to me, Izzy Baker, for your mental health and wellness content. If you need anything done as far as white papers, articles, if you're in the podcast and YouTube description, anything social media written for you, your LinkedIn is really important. If you need that, I know I got the recipe for it. If you need anything like that done, reach out to me and we can get something going with that. Just like that, we back for another Thanksgiving special. I didn't know if this was gonna happen, but God said otherwise. I need to get back in the studio more. Like I said, I've definitely noticed better engagement when I'm in the studio. You know, ain't that right, studio audience? Haven't you noticed better engagement with the clips that be from times like this? He nods and says yes. So see, maybe I ain't as crazy as I thought. All right, so today is Thanksgiving, and we're going to talk about that. Hopefully you listening to this while you know, maybe sitting with your family. Maybe while you getting your turkey together, your dressing, whatever it is you eat. I saw a viral clip that says, don't be trying nothing new at Thanksgiving. I wouldn't, especially if you're black. You never know where that could go. There was one video was talking about like, don't bring no Mexican street corn to the Thanksgiving. Like you ain't never even been to Mexico. You ain't Mexican. You ain't even been on the Mexican street. That lady was going in, but I mean, it's extra, but you know what I mean. All right, so let's get into today's topic because I don't want to rant too much because we do have to talk about something serious. So this episode is about grief, especially during the holiday season. This week's meme reads, not everyone is jingling all the way this holiday season, and that's okay. Grief is the silent guest at many tables. Make room for healing. Inspiration for this week comes from a few places. So the first place comes from a quote by Alan D. Wolfelt. It says, a wonderful thing about the holidays is that they encourage us to remember those we love. Even though it may hurt to remember, don't forget the remembering that past makes hoping for the future possible. A phrase that I like that says worship before you worry, because sometimes we get to worrying and then, you know, I saw a quote also that says worry is worship to the devil. So I thought that was interesting because if you think about it, that's actually very true. But we get more into that as we go along. And then a quote from the Bible, Psalm 17:22, it says, a joyful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones. And that is Psalm 17:22. Now, I could keep ranting, but I do have a guest today, and I don't want to keep ranting because he's sitting here, you know, posing up. So let me go ahead and introduce my guest. Tell the people what's your name, where you from, and where do you live now?
What's going on, y'all? My name is Tayvon. I usually go by Tay. I'm the host of Talk With Tay podcast. I'm originally from Detroit, Michigan, but now I reside in St. Louis, Missouri.
Now, when you said Missouri, it sounded like you said misery a little bit.
Misery? Shit.
Yeah, you
know what?
miserable?
Yeah, no, I ain't gonna talk about your town like that.
Well, I still need to go to Detroit because I text my homeboy, he from Detroit, and they was watching, it was some TV show on there. Everybody there was from Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
And I text him, I said, your city is about the dirtiest city I've ever seen. Everybody in the clip was filthy.
That's crazy. What show was this?
What show was that? And I was just like, everybody in here
I
ghetto.
don't know if that was a Detroit show.
He said everybody. I said everybody from Detroit ghetto. He said St. Louis ghetto. I said this is true.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna argue facts. I'm not ghetto, but they are. All right, now let's go ahead and jump into the first segment for the day, which is the happy hour. They say when you have an issue with somebody, you don't throw subliminals, you put an ad on it. So unfortunately, because you hear you in my beef now, this is to Sheen. Count your days. Let me explain why Sheen needs to count their days. I ordered a package from Sheen. You know, Sheen, and no, I don't have on no Sheen now because I know somebody gonna be like, you got on Sheen right? No, I don't. Nothing I got on the Sheen. Don't do it. So I sent a message. So I got a package from Sheen. They said your package is delivered. I look outside the door. The package wasn't there. So I'm like, okay, you know, sometimes it be delayed. So I finally said it's still not here. They send a picture finally. It's to somebody else's house in my apartment complex with the same number. I said, that's not my house. That's somebody else's. They said, well, go see if they got it. So I said, okay, I ain't turned up yet. So I go walk over to the people's house. I hear the people in the house speaking English. I hear them. Mm-hmm. They come to the door. I said, hey, did my package come here? No, I hablo inglés. I said, I just heard you speaking English. And then he just kept speaking in Spanish. And I said, okay, since you're playing games. So I got the translator that said package. They was like, nah, no. Well, he didn't say like in English. He said it in Spanish. So I said, okay. So then I walked off and I let them know what happened. The man was like, well, it's nothing really we can do about that. I'm like, y'all can't give a credit or nothing. It was like, no. I said, so at that point, I kind of got a little irritated and I kind of got a little mad in the message. And I sent him a message and I said something about, yeah, you know what, I'm going to just have to take this legally because at this point, this is ridiculous. The nigga named Zach responded and said, go off.
Man.
At work? That is crazy.
Oh, that's wild.
And then the thing was, so I want y'all in the comments right now to, in this comment on this clip, tag Sheen and tag Zach. Well, I don't know if you can't just say at Zach, but tag Sheen and let them know, like, he need to be fired. Because when they be on there talking about people, you know, online, they be like, my black job. Mm-hmm. Clearly, Sheen is the black job. That's something I would have never imagined. So, count your days. Boohoo man would never. And that's all I got to say about that. Okay. So now, let's talk about this. You have a podcast host. We got to get that out the way. It was bothering me. You a podcast host. You've been podcasting for how long now?
4 months now. Yeah.
4 months?
Yeah, 4 months.
With the numbers you got?
Yeah, 4 months, yeah.
So what inspired the podcast? How did it come about? You know, was you sitting with your friends and was like, oh, we should start a podcast, and they fell off, you did it by yourself? Like, how did it come about?
I mean, the main inspiration behind it was definitely the death of my mother.
Okay.
And when I say the death of my mother, it wasn't actually her death. It was, you know, going through that grief process and not having nobody to talk to. I think that it stems from that. And, you know, I was 2 years in, you know, still dealing with the dynamic of, you know, not having a safe space to speak about shit. So one day I was playing pro baseball out in Cali this summer, actually, yeah. And I was thinking about it. I woke up, you know, I was praying to find peace for this whole year. I'm gonna be honest with you, this year was rough. And then I woke up one day, bro, I ain't gonna lie to you, I was just like, I'm gonna start a podcast. So I created the Instagram page. You know, I looked for a studio that was near me at the time, went there and shot the first episode with really nothing. I was just letting it out, you know what I mean? And people kind of gravitated toward it, you know, and then I'm here now, so yeah.
Okay, good stuff. And then even with the podcast, like I said, because the way you get into, have you ever done public speaking, anything like that?
College, a little bit, corporate, a little bit. I wouldn't say public speaking, but I have had to speak in front of a small to medium sized crowds, I would say. Yeah.
Well, I'm just asking because when I looked at the podcast and I was watching you talk, it was just like,
Mm.
you've been doing this. That's how it looked.
Oh shit. Well, yeah, bro. I appreciate that. Yeah. Nah, but yeah. I ain't never public speak for real. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the audience, no, I'm not, I wouldn't lie.
Yeah. No, I feel that. I
Wouldn't lie.
appreciate that. Yeah.
Okay, so Fast to Know Your Mother, that inspired that. It's interesting how like those traumatic experiences can inspire greatness. You listen to like these different artists and rappers and painters and poets and all these people who talk about how like it was this traumatic experience that inspired this and what pushed this. And it's interesting how what we go through can help other people out, even though it didn't crushed us and
Facts.
pushed us to the edge in some cases, but it's just interesting how we can turn it into something to help other people. Because I even read the comments. You got a lot of engagement too.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so now I'm going to ask you a few words, and I want you to tell me the first thing that comes to mind. There's no right or wrong answer. Are you ready?
Yep.
All right, the first word is grief.
Sad.
Seasonal depression.
Fucked up.
Worry.
What's next?
Okay. The definition of grief is deep sorrow, especially that caused by someone's death. Seasonal depression, also known as SAD, is known as a seasonal affective disorder. Is a type of depression that is triggered by the change of seasons and most commonly begins in the late fall. And then worry, it says when you give way to anxiety or unease and allow one's mind to dwell on difficulty or troubles. All right, so you're pretty close, and I like those breakdowns. All right, let's move to the next section, which is what does this have to do with mental health? And with that, I have to, I say this frequently, and I'm going to keep saying it just in case this is somebody's first episode. With doing PSA, the Mental Health Podcast, and not being a mental health professional and being just more of an advocate and the person who gets the conversation going, people to say,
Right.
What does it have to do with mental health, or this topic, what does it have to do? And, but here's how it does. So before we get into that, I have another question. So
It can get very deep, right? So I think for me, it's affected me because I got tired of being a strong one, like really. And then when I express vulnerability to people, now I'm looked at as weak, but I was just a strong one just a minute ago, right? So I think it affected me now. Up to this point is just realizing that I can show emotion. You know what I mean? I don't have to continue to mask things all the time because that's what I did. Done my whole life. So I think that's probably it.
So do you have any good friends that you can open up to or vent to anything?
I'm gonna say yes and no.
Okay.
Because like again, I'm the one that people come to. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of weight on me to be there to have them talking points with people. So now I feel like I'm starting to have more people open up about their issues from seeing me do it. So now I feel like it's getting to that point where I can rely on certain people in my circle.
Well, that's good. You know what I hate in these type of situations where people will hear you say something on a podcast,
Mm-hmm.
and if you haven't heard that, you will, and they'll be like, "Why didn't you never tell me that?" Why would I? Whenever I tried, it was like, "What you doing?" or looking at me like I was crazy, or you changed the subject. I've had that happen before, where you start talking about something, they change the subject, and I just be like, "All right." I said, don't. I'll be thinking, yeah, don't. What was that video? It was a meme. It was like, I ain't coming back here no more.
No
That's
more.
yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be me. I ain't tell you nothing else.
I know that feeling too often, bro. Yeah.
So now let's get into some of my facts. So what does this topic have to do with mental health? As far as sad, seasonal depression and just, grief in general. It says
Apartment.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
Okay. All right. So then we talked about increased stress and depression. So let's talk about the next one: impact on emotional well-being. The American Psychological Association notes that grief during the holiday season can lead to a range of emotions, including sadness, anger, and guilt. The emotions can disrupt daily function and overall mental health. That's another one too. I try to show, can I say compassion? I guess compassion and grace to people who are grieving during this season, because sometimes they can be snappy, and it's like, you know, because I had a situation because my grandmother actually died on Christmas, 2008, my dad's mom, and during that time I was younger, but I remember my dad was kind of snappy, and I was just like, I ain't do nothing, but
You didn't understand it.
right, you ain't understand, but now you're like, okay, I get it. The challenges and coping mechanisms. It says Harvard Health published and discusses how the holiday season may challenge individuals' coping mechanisms, potentially leading to unhealthy behaviors such as overeating and substance misuse. Recognizing and addressing these challenges is vital for maintaining mental health. Definitely with Thanksgiving, and since today is Thanksgiving, people definitely can overeat. Now, my overeating today wouldn't be because of grief. It would be because it's that day. And I think a lot of people plan on that. Do you ever struggle with, because see, before I ask that, I'm actually the opposite. When I'm grieving, I don't eat at all. Like I used to wake up and just, I would go days without eating, or I'll eat like a cracker or a bird. Wow. I mean, a piece of bread. But anyway, do you have any issues with that, with like overeating or undereating whenever those waves may hit?
Yeah, for sure, bro. Like when my mom first died, it was about a year. I struggled with that hard, bro. Like she died around Christmas time, and like I said, I was an athlete. Around the time I was probably like 210 pounds. About a month after my mom died, bro, I was 235. You know what I mean?
Wow.
I wasn't even hungry most of the time. I was just eating food. Like I go eat a meal, like 2 hours later, I go get some more shit. Like, and that continued, for a long time. Like, and granted that I can make the weight look a little good because I was still active and playing ball, whatever. But yeah, it was rough, bro. That lasted for about a year, and I still got some of that weight right now, if I'm being honest. Like, but yeah, I still periodically have those times where I'm like sad, and I just go get some bullshit ass food. So
Yeah.
yeah.
The next one, which actually just goes perfectly, it says the social isolation risks. The Mayo Health Clinic emphasizes that grief can cause individuals to withdraw from social activities during the holiday seasons, increasing the risk of isolation and loneliness. Maintaining social connections is essential for mental well-being. Now, I have to revisit the, you remember back in the day, the Christmas tale, the Scrooge McDuck. I wonder if he, consequences. According to Psychology Today, unresolved grief during the holidays can manifest physically, leading to symptoms like fatigue, headaches, and weakened immunity. These physical symptoms are closely linked to mental health and overall quality of life. Okay, you already briefly talked about that with you, but like I said, there's some other people that's the opposite. They, they skeleton.
Right.
I was never no skeleton, but I've seen some people who he was like, is there, and some people did, lose the weight on purpose, and that's why they look like that. But some people really was just,
starve themselves.
Yeah, because they don't, because I know with me, I wouldn't be hungry. Like I just wouldn't eat in that. I haven't had a bout with depression, those things in many years now.
Right.
I'm not gonna say that. All right. So now, I think we know the answer, but just to clarify, do you see your podcast as like a form of therapy? Or is it more about creating a platform for others to heal, or both?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both. It started out it was just for me. Like I put this out and I started it with no expectations. I ain't gonna lie
Mm-hmm.
to you. I ain't really won't expect people to gravitate or fuck with it really, if I'm being honest. And then, I was probably like a month in, I saw a bunch of people reaching out to me, resonating with what I was saying. I'm like, oh shit, like I'm not the only one.
Somebody asked, she said she didn't do it, but she did it. And what I found interesting about that was I've heard those comments throughout the years because I've been doing this since 2018.
Yeah.
Well, you're not a licensed professional. Who do you think you are? That's why I made it geared towards picking the brains of people who are licensed professionals in the industry
Mm-hmm.
and still having these kind of conversations with peers. You have a mental health podcast, so you kind of fit it. I keep telling everybody this, like basketball wives. Everybody wasn't a wife on this show. They was affiliated. Everybody on the podcast affiliated in some way. You might be a life coach, a diabetes expert, anxiety, specialist. So you somewhere under the umbrella,
Mm-hmm.
but the goal is still the same. So if those critiques do come, just keep in mind what to do and to kind of attack them before they get to you. So then that way you can't say, you're going to say, oh, this is,
Right.
just because. Now let me ask this. Matter of fact, no, let's go to the next segment. I challenge that. And in this segment, this is where we challenge everything. Now, what is your response to people who say they're tired of seeing these types of self-help types of podcasts or these, what is your response to that?
Man, I would honestly tell people who, make statements like that is, identify themselves, because it's obvious that they running from those conversations for a reason. That's just how I perceive it. But I would just tell them, like, identify themselves, because, it's clear that they're not talking about what they're battling with, and we all dealing with shit at the end of the day. So I would tell them, yeah, go, take some time and sit with yourself.
Okay. I like that. Now, your podcast touches on many topics.
Mm-hmm.
As you just said, many people shy away from. So what has been the most rewarding episode for you thus far?
Most rewarding? My most recent episode, it's not out yet. It'll be out on Monday. It was with somebody named Courtney Bell. He's an artist from Detroit. He's kind of somebody who's a bridge between like niggas that's really in the streets and kind of like people who are spiritual in a way. Like, and he advocates for mental health. I think that's probably been my best episode up to this point, because he touches a different type of audience between, like I said, between people in the streets and people who are looking for those growth moments within themselves. And I think he could touch a larger crowd by bringing those two groups together. So yeah, and it helped me learn a lot more about him and what he's actually speaking, because he speaks a lot about different events through his life about mental health, and he speaks about it on social media. So it kind of helped me. It gave me a new perspective on certain things. So, yeah.
Okay, that's good. That's what it's all about. So we back to dealing with, still dealing with grief and talking about that. For someone who may not know how that feels, can you describe it in 3 words?
Describe grief in 3 words?
For you. Especially during this season.
To simplify it, I would say lost, numb, and confused.
Okay.
Yeah, I would use those 3.
I think a lot of people can resonate with that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel as though, or no, because some people are diagnosed, but do you think that you have seasonal depression?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've always had seasonal depression.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Like since a kid, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't know it was seasonal depression until I got older though.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah.
So how did you find out? You just doing the research?
Actually, man, it was this girl I was dating at the time, and she just told me one day, and I'm just like, fuck you mean I got seasonal depression? You know what I mean? I was like, and I used to, because I would tell her about, holiday, because holidays was always rough for me. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people passed away, throughout my life, and those were pivotal, people in my family. You know what I mean? So I would always get sad around the holidays, and I would tell people, specifically women, but I would tell them, and then this one person told me, you got seasonal depression. I was like, I wasn't trying to hear that at this time. This was about 4 or 5 years ago. But now, you know what I mean? Like, after that, I realized that, okay, this has always been a thing, because it was obvious. I was sad around the holidays. You know what I mean? Like, all the time, no matter what.
Have you ever been to therapy before?
I have, yeah.
Did you like it?
I had a bad experience my first time, so I'm trying to find my way back to therapy, if I'm being honest.
I feel like you're going to find somebody with that podcast. You'd be surprised. So, for those that don't know about seasonal depression, we gave the breakdown earlier, but here are some key points from Psychology Today. It says the decrease in sunlight during the fall and winter often sparks depressive thoughts and behavior. It says seasonal affective disorder can be treated by tweaking medication, combinations, and doses. And it says simple lifestyle habits can prevent and help overcome seasonal affective disorder. Now, with the medication thing, because I've never been an advocate for that. I know some people are, some people, I know somebody say, you're not a professional. I've had now 2 or 3 professionals on my podcast who aren't licensed therapists, who like they're not for medication as well. Even one recently, shout out to my boy Ray, who's also a therapist and the host of Smooth Podcast. He even said, like, with those medications, people can become too dependent on them.
Mm-hmm.
And even when you made the comment about being numb,
yeah,
I think about that with those medications. They kind of just numb. They numb you. I've seen students when I was in education who was on medication. They just numb.
Mm-hmm.
They just looking. They're just like a zombie.
Right.
And I think that a lot of times people feel like that without the medication. So if you get on it, it might just make it even worse in some cases. Like I said, I'm not the professional. I'm just going on what I've seen and what the conversations that have been had.
Mm-hmm.
So now some people say time heals all wounds. Do you think that that's true regarding grief, or does the holiday season prove otherwise?
I think it's true to some capacity.
Uh-huh.
I don't really think it. I don't think it healed the wound like heals 100%. So no, I don't believe that at this point. No.
Yeah. And how do you cope with the pressure to celebrate and move on when grief feels heavy, especially from those who may not understand it? Because from what you told me, it sounds like there's a lot of people around you they don't get it.
You said, how do I celebrate it?
Yeah. You just push through it, or do you just kind of pull back all the way?
No, I don't push through it anymore at this point. I try to think about, those that I've lost. Try to remember more of the joyful side of them in my life instead of just the death and the pain that it's caused me. So yeah, just thinking about certain memories. Like I can remember things back to when I was like 3 years old. So like I have a very like just detailed memory. So I think about times and shit. It could be like me and my mom going to the store or something like that. But I just try to think about happy times and yeah, and just try to smile, like literally smile in real time, like just crack a smile on my face. I try to smile and just, and just think about things that were good about, that person.
For sure. That's all you can really do.
Yeah.
Now this actually comes from everettchristiancollege.com. It says, if you struggle with seasonal depression, it says God is doing a good thing for you. It is your body's way of telling you to slow down. A call to be still and know that He is God. Stillness is an important gift, and so is retreat. It says Jesus regularly retreated from the crowds and His own disciples to be still. Your faith grows more than you think in such times. Being a good Christian is not about showing up to church every time the doors open. Depression, just because in life I look back on worrying about what was going to happen next. And so I look back on so many events in my life where it was like, that was a fun time, but I don't remember it. I remember it, but I remember being like, I ain't even enjoy it all the way because, I look back on events like, dang, I really enjoyed it, reminiscing on it, than actually living through it.
Mm-hmm.
And even through all of that, good things still do happen.
Yeah.
What else do I want to say?
Right.
Many families avoid discussing the loss of loved ones during the holidays to keep things light. Do you think that silence helps or hurt the healing process, especially in Black families? Because we don't like talk about nothing.
It destroys it, man. That's nothing good about staying silent about what's obvious, what's on the wall. That's I've never been a fan of that, but unfortunately, I grew up in that, and it's still like that today with my family. So I'm still battling that for real. So yeah.
So how do you battle? Do you deal with them? Do you talk to them about it? Do you just kind of move around? What do you do?
Actually, I stopped trying to talk about it with certain people, because I don't know, man. So everybody, that I've dealt with, it's pretty difficult when it came to that. But once they see, your effort stops, it kind of pushes them to like try to, poke at it a little bit, and then they become aware of what's actually going on. Then when you talk to certain people, they may hear from them, and then they have a realization of of what's going on. So yeah, that's kind of how I do it now. But I just stopped talking about it to certain people, and I just do it through this now. So yeah.
Okay. All right. So I remember when I was in college, I had a friend who used to be like, she used to say all the time, well, I'm a broke college student. I'm a broke college student. Stop calling yourself broke.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And the same thing with the seasonal depression thing, even if that is the case, like people say, I like when somebody has said, like, I think it was Tiffany Montgomery. I think she said something like, I'm not poor, I'm just in a poor situation at the moment, something like that. And it's a way to word it, the depression or things you're going through, without saying like, I'm going, it's summertime. I'm enjoying the summer now because when October hit, I'm gonna be depressed. I've heard people do that. Like, stop. You're planning for the downfall. It's like you just accept the defeat. And so many people just accept like, this is over.
Yeah.
And I think that I want people to just pay attention to that, maybe even say something like, this might be a struggle, but I'm not going to say, oh, I'm about to be seasonally depressed, or, oh, I got, I'm diagnosed with this. So I'm just, especially in our community, sometimes it seems like, and I said this a few weeks ago, sometimes I feel like us as a culture, we brag about having issues, especially the old folks. How many old people, like, it's like a competition with a bunch of old folks. I got diabetes, and I got the high blood pressure. I take this medication. This is like, that's not okay.
Right.
And they think it's okay, and they think it's the norm. So I think podcasts like this and podcasts like yours can kind of continue to defy the norms. And hopefully, if you ain't doing that or didn't think you was doing that, keep doing that. All right, let's move to the final segment today, which is the weekly sabbatical. And in this segment, we just kind of reflect on some things. Today is Thanksgiving. What can you say that you're most thankful for?
In this moment, more thankful for a peace of mind, understanding, and just life itself, health and wealth, for real.
So with that being said, how do you usually spend your holidays these days?
Still alone, I'll be honest with you. Yeah, I don't like to be around people. I'm still going through that. This past holiday, I was with someone's family. It was my girl at the time. I was with her family. So that helped a little bit, but now it's like, if I do have an invite extended to me, which I know I do, right? But I choose not to accept it, for real. Because I can't take being around other people's family, or shit, if it's not my immediate family, because we still dealing with that, that rough patch that we dealing with. So, yeah.
And the immediate family ain't really been...
Nah, everybody divided right now, so yeah.
Okay. Do you see yourself as a public figure?
Yeah.
Okay. Where do you see your podcast in 3 years?
Where do I see my podcast in 3 years? I definitely see myself having some type of deal, whether that's distribution or something like that. Definitely see myself having a deal, and definitely my own actual platform, like my own channel network. Definitely see that, and definitely just see myself being more known than what I am now, for sure. Like, that audience is gonna continue to grow. So yeah, I definitely see myself being a staple in this space.
How many subscribers do you have on YouTube?
Right now, 800 or something like that.
And you just started it, right?
Yeah, in July.
What you be doing?
Bro, I did ads for like a month in August.
Okay.
That helped a little bit, but I don't know too much about, the marketing side yet. So it got me like 100 subscribers at that time when I had like 300. And then I just post everywhere. You know what I mean? Like, and I've been through all walks of life, so it's a lot of people that do know me. So a lot of those subscribers are people from my life or whatever, and I've been gaining a lot of traction through people I don't know. So
yeah, that's how it is.
I post everywhere on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat. So, and I just post. Like, if you see it, you see it. But you know what I mean?
Yeah. I got to get better for posting on Threads, because I can't get on Twitter. Twitter is...
yeah, Threads. I forgot about Threads. I ain't never used that yet.
I can't get on Twitter. That's too much. It's too much. I ain't had a Snapchat since some people hacked my stuff. And so I got Facebook. I might start posting on Facebook. I don't know why I don't, but okay. Yeah. What else I want to speak? Okay, so another thing that I talk about is having patience, especially during times like this, because you made the comment about your family being divided. And you know what, I want to read this verse, and then I'm gonna say this. So Psalm 40:1-3 says, I waited patiently for the Lord. He turned to me and heard my cry. He lifted me up out of the slimy pit, out of the mud and mire. He set my feet on a rock and gave me a firm place to stand. He put a new song in my mouth, a hymn of praise to our God. Many will see and fear the Lord and put their trust in him. That verse gave me just a piece about when we waiting on something. So in some cases, we waiting on the door to open. We waiting on a relationship to be fixed. We waiting on a call back. You know, in your case, and in many cases of people who are struggling with grief, I've been through grief as well, you think it's never going to end. I'm on the other side of it. It does end. You do get over it.
Yeah.
It seems like it may never be, but you have to find your outlet, whatever that may be. You know, he found his through podcasting. You know, some people may get to, you know, journaling, whatever it takes. But it's definitely, you need to find your outlet, whatever, you know, you like to do. That, you know, got to be specific, because some of y'all can get into toxic habits, and I don't want you doing that. But, you know, and even asking that, besides eating, were there any other toxic habits that came about from dealing with grief?
For me, I wouldn't say toxic. I was like forcing myself to sleep a lot though. Yeah, during that time. But nah, I wouldn't say anything else that was like, you know, detrimental to me for real. Cause again,
I love with utmost enthusiasm. Winter blues are a real thing that I battle every year, so I need to remain as equipped as can be. Now, that's a kind of a challenge to what I had said earlier. It's kind of like just preparing for that and dealing with it. You know, I see both sides of the ball, and I definitely wanted to put that other narrative there just so people can see that some people just say they're going to battle with every year and just get ready for battle.
Right.
And just put their armor on and go in. And some people have been over it completely. It's definitely something that we can definitely debate about in the comments, and I definitely want to say that. But with you, it's clear you're something you're like, I'm not gonna deal with this forever. Like, you know, some people just say they refuse to. I remember when I was going through something real bad, I woke up one day and said, I can't keep doing this. Like, I just can't do this. And that's when I had went to therapy the first time, and then I just started doing the practices. I started Googling stuff. I said, I can't do this every day. It was too much.
Yeah.
So I have some tips that I found from Psychology Today. 5 simple moves to beat sad this winter. This is from Samuel L. Parker and Miriam Arand. Wonder where they're from. All right. The first one says step outside. It says cold or not, getting outside can flip your mood. Sunlight and fresh air fight fatigue and boost your mental game. Even a 10-minute morning walk can set the tone for the day. With that, now hold on, wait. I remember this one day I went home, and I was off finna take my shower. I had worked out, did some work. I said, okay, get in the shower. The hot water is off. I said, really? So I said, bro, I'm funky. I need to take a nap, bro. I'm just gonna have to thug it out. I can't do this. So I took a cold shower. And when I tell you, I felt like energized. I felt like lifted up. You know, I wasn't depressed or nothing at the time, but it just really did something to me. So as bad as y'all don't want to hear that, you might try taking a cold shower too, because it really does something to you. But they say statistically it does stuff.
It does, yeah.
All right, it says train your mind and body. All right, so with that, I just believe about, you know, working out. Stretching is good. A lot of y'all need to I had to learn about stretching the hard way. Y'all know the situation with my spine, so I had to learn the hard way. But don't be like me. Make sure y'all stretching and stuff, because if not, you're going to regret it later. So keep that in mind. The third one, it says don't ghost your friends. It says isolation is more prevalent in winter. It says make plans to meet friends and to go places and do things of that nature. So as we keep scrolling, let me say this too. With that, I believe isolation is for a season. I believe that there are times you may need to kind of separate yourself from, but I think, you know, and even you realize like some certain things you just can't do right now. And that's just being realistic. But at the same time, you are kind of like, you know I got to go do this sometimes. I can't just stay in the house, because you'll lose it, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
You'll definitely lose it. So it's good for your mental health and help you cope with loneliness. And then the fourth one says let in the light. Keep the blinds up during the day and try to light there. light therapy, which we actually had with my boy a few weeks ago, Evan Transu, who talked about that light therapy and how it helped him and his mother and his family. And then the fifth one, it says, fuel your body right. Fresh fruits and veggies and movement are your go-to weapons. Pair them with vitamin D supplement. You're ready to crush this season. So definitely, this is not the time to, if you this Thanksgiving. So of course we gonna eat. I'm gonna eat, but still make sure you having them days where you have get your stuff in, because your body is affected when you are malnourished. What tradition, if any, do you have to honor your mother during this time?
You talking about Thanksgiving or just holidays?
Just the holidays in general.
Ooh, like they would pay her to make extra and stuff like that. So I find somebody who making some, because I can't make it like she could. You know what I mean? But I find somebody who making some, and I order that and get it and eat it, and that'll make me feel kind of at peace a little bit. So yeah.
Okay. Anything else you want to add to this list before we go? What helped you kind of cope with this time, or what you do?
I would something that did help me at first, or what's still helping me now, is just change the way you think about things. Death can definitely cause you to think everything is bad about it, right? But if you look at it in a light where it's helping you,
Mm-hmm.
it can definitely shift your perspective and make things easier. I'm not gonna say definitely depends on the individual for sure, but if you just start somewhere and start to shift your mind a little bit about it, it can definitely help you, especially around the holidays, because around the holidays it's probably the hardest time to deal with grief. So
Yeah.
yeah, I would say that's something that I do, and I think it can help others for sure.
Okay. All right. All right, y'all. So for this week, for the question and challenge, I just want y'all to let me know if any of y'all struggle with seasonal depression, struggle with anything around this time. How do you cope with it? How do you not cope with it? And if you don't struggle with it at all, just tell me about a time when you did struggle with any type of depression or grief and how you overcame it. Yeah. Anything else you want to plug with the people before we go?
Yeah, bro. I just want to say I appreciate you for having me on, bro. It's been an honor for real, and I appreciate what you doing as well. Like, I fuck with your shit, and
Remember, I love us for real.